Bedford, Part 2. Barbara was summoned back to Fox Studios for her first star vehicle in 1921, Cinderella of the Hills. This is her first star vehicle ever. It happened to be made in 1921, I should say. The film saw her as Norris, a young woman that tries to reunite her divorced parents after her father marries another snooty woman. Sort of like a single child version of The Parent Trap. While the film appears to be unfortunately lost, it got Barbara rave reviews again. Moving Picture World wrote, in selecting Barbara Bedford for stellar honors, William Fox has given the screen a new and pleasing personality. To begin with, Miss Bedford has youth, good looks, and a wholesome and engaging appearance. Her limited experience at acting is apparent, but there are occasional flashes of inherent artistic understanding that show time alone is necessary to develop her into a finished player. While they praised Barbara, Moving Picture World was quick to point out what I wondered about with Last of the Mohicans. Barbara was still a little inexperienced, but so natural and lovely that there was no doubt that she would be on her way to becoming a top actress in the movies. In 1922, Barbara co-starred with Florence Lawrence in The Unfoldment, an independently produced comeback vehicle for Florence, the very first movie star in history, that sadly did little to rejuvenate her career. Barbara was also reunited with John Gilbert later that year in Gleam of Dawn at Fox, of which Moving Picture World said, Barbara Bedford is appealing and real. 1922 also saw Barbara return to being a Western leading lady again. First, she starred with Hoot Gibson in Universal's Step on It. Then, she starred with Frank Mayo in Out of the Silent North. In 1923, she co-starred with Tom Mix in Fox's Romance Land, which got Barbara good reviews again. Later, in 1923, she starred with Anna Q. Nilsson and Milton Sills in the Goldwyn Western, The Spoilers. The New York Times praised Barbara's beauty in the film, but said she had little to do. In 1924, Barbara got another chance at a star vehicle in MGM's Women Who Give, which saw her as Emily Swift, a rich heiress that finds herself amidst suitors and adventure on a wayward ship. Exhibitors Herald said that the film was intelligently acted. A year later, Barbara supported May McAvoy, Jack Mulhall, and Myrtle Steadman in The Mad Whirl, released by Universal in 1925. In the film, Barbara played a vastly different type of role, that of a saucy seductress that's out to seduce a rich married man, John Harrington, played by Alec B. Francis, out of his money as his mistress. She is in cahoots with Benny, played by Ward Crane, who is out to do the same thing to Harrington's wife. Meanwhile, the Harrington son, played by Jack Mulhall, is a wild playboy that is reformed for his love of the innocent Kathleen, played by May McAvoy. Take a look at Barbara in this brief clip. Immediately, I was struck by how much this role was a refreshing departure for the roles that Barbara had previously played. Here, she is the vamp, controlling the game and getting the man and his money. Barbara's physicality instantly gives way to her characterization, as does her facial expressions and sly sensuality. The Mad Whirl seemed to mark a new turn in Barbara's career. No longer was she the beautiful, innocent ingenue, but could easily play a character part, a comedic vamp, and probably any part in which she was cast. Barbara followed up The Mad Whirl by co-starring with Charles Ray and Betty Blythe in 1925's Percy. She had previously starred with Charles in 1922's Alias Julius Caesar. This time, Barbara played Imogene, a love interest of Charles's title character, who was a lazy mama's boy whose father wants him to grow up. Moving Picture World said Barbara was a fine type for the girl. Later that same year, Barbara was reunited with her very first co-star, William S. Hart, this time as his leading lady in Tumbleweeds. The film saw Barbara as Molly Lassiter, who is accidentally lassoed by cowboy Don Carver, played by Hart, and romance blossoms with the natural Western adventure and complications along the way. Check out Barbara in these two clips from 1925's Tumbleweeds. Barbara is a different type of role in this film. She has toughness like she displayed in The Last of the Mohicans, but also a subtle flair for humor. The New York Times gave her pretty good notices for her work in Tumbleweeds. In 1926, Barbara got the chance to appear in 2 more starring vehicles. First, Devil's Dice, and second, Sunshine of Paradise Alley for Chadwick Pictures, which thankfully survives and is available to view. In this film, Barbara portrayed Sunshine O'Day, a Miss Fix-It, if you will, who convinces a banker to not tear down her neighborhood and thwarts another man's plan to steal money from the bank. Check out Barbara in the following clip. As you see here, Barbara plays Sunshine with the positive attitude at first, not thinking the treacherous banker is making a pass at her. Eventually, Sunshine stands up for herself and her neighborhood and rejects the lecherous man's advances. While I cannot find any specific reviews, Sunshine of Paradise Alley appears to have been successful for both Barbara and the newly created Chadwick Pictures, who immediately starred Barbara in her next picture and their next picture, another star vehicle, Life of an Actress. Later in 1927, Barbara starred with Louis Stone at First National as the title role in The Notorious Lady, which saw her as Mary Marlowe, whose husband, played by Stone, kills a man he finds trying to seduce her. To help her husband's case, Mary lies and says she was having an affair with the man, so it would look like her husband shot him out of honor, I guess. Eventually, the Marlowes flee to Africa and further complications and adventures ensue. Check out Barbara in the aforementioned scene here. As you saw, Barbara is just desperately trying to get this lecherous man to leave her alone. Her subtle range of emotions on her face and her physicality suggests a woman that is uncomfortable, angry, and disgusted. If you notice, Louis Stone had just pulled up outside and the showdown was about to begin. The Notorious Lady got pretty good reviews, but appeared to struggle at the box office, according to Variety and Exhibitor's Herald. Motion Picture News praised Barbara's performance and wrote, "The reappearance of Barbara Bedford and the Notorious Lady makes me want to utter a few cheers. The young woman seems to me one of the most promising of the young screen stars." It's very interesting that they use the phrase reappearance. Moving Picture World also published an article/interview with Barbara in promotion for The Notorious Lady that specifically referenced the fact that she freelanced and did not allow herself to be tied down to one studio. Since she freelanced and often found herself with more gaps between her films than her other usual actor that had, since she freelanced, she often found herself with more gaps between her films than the usual actor that had a strict studio schedule and a production quota. While she seemingly appeared to have gone away for periods of time and then reappear, instead she was actually working hard at other studios, including independent ones like Chadwick. So her films were not always playing at first-run movie houses, but she was never on break from working. Later in 1927, she was teamed with Lon Chaney in MGM's Mockery, a tale of intrigue set during the Russian Revolution. Barbara played Countess Tatiana, who was aided by a peasant played by Chaney. When the revolution occurs, check out Barbara in the following clip with Lon Chaney. As you saw, the Countess appears in disguise on the run from the Bolsheviks and enlists Sergei's help. Again, I was impressed by the subtlety of Barbara's emotions, particularly in her face as she begs Sergei to help her. Her physicality also suggests a woman on the run that fears for her life. But the film got mixed reviews overall. Stay tuned for Barbara Bedford Part 3.